Hey there YouTube, just wanted to do a real quick video talking about my Subaru, and this is actually going to be a 1-year review. So I got this November 2nd of 2015. This is a 2016 model, and the history behind how I got it. I drive a Subaru and I vape. Sorry for being a cliche. The whole story of how I ended up getting it is a buddy of mine was leaving town, and he drove a WRX as well. It was like a 2012, 2013 model. And I always digged the car, and I was like, hey man, is there any way I can test drive your car? So I'd never driven a stick before. I got about 5 minutes of stick instruction and then cruised around a parking lot and then drove us home. So about 15 minutes of total drive time behind his wheel. And the very next day, I went out and bought the car. Why did I go out and get rid of my Jeep Wrangler for this? Because even as a new driver with a standard, I knew instantaneously it was a better vehicle. Now, I still have a lot of love for the Jeep community. I know some of the Jeep community follows me here. Don't get me wrong, I do love the Jeep. There are aspects of the Jeep that I miss, like the ride height and things like that. But this vehicle actually is safer to be in. It's more capable on-road in the snow, and it has more power, which makes you able to get out of some pretty rough situations where the Jeep struggled with those kind of things. So at the end of the day, I'm actually very much more happier with the Subaru than I was the Jeep. So yeah, I mean, I like pretty much everything about the car. I love the power, I love its ability in the snow and ice, and it'll even plow through snow. I mean, I've had snow over a foot above where my car's ride height is, and this thing just pushed right through it, no problems. I'm thoroughly impressed with this vehicle. I've never had any problems. The standard is incredibly forgiving for people who are new to stick, so if you've been eyeing up these cars and you have always wanted a stick but you're scared to get one, please don't be. It's not a big deal. This car is incredibly forgiving, and if you just give yourself a few weeks time to just kind of get everything down and get that confidence built up, the only reason you're going to be making mistakes, honestly, is just the newness of the vehicle, and you're going to be a little bit nervous as you're first driving it, so you're going to tend to want to hold the clutch in a little longer and let it up slower than maybe you need to, or whatever, you know, weird mistakes that we make when we're driving new. But this vehicle is incredibly forgiving to new drivers, and incredibly rewarding to experienced ones. So I can't say enough about it. However, if you do want to bypass the stick and go with the CVT, at this point I've actually driven one of those, and they're really good. When they first came out, a lot of people had a lot of smack to talk. If you're going to get a sports car, you should get a stick and all this, that, and the other thing. But part of the daily driver experience kind of requires a little bit of convenience, and if your driving scenario is not such that it's convenient to have a stick, if you're constantly stop and go and that's not what you want to be messing with, I understand the CVT, and you shouldn't hesitate to get that either if that's what you want, but I would recommend the manual. Power on this thing's pretty good. Anything, you know, that you've been in for a while is going to feel kind of slow after a while, and that's kind of the stage I'm at. I've got no performance mods, just kind of, you know, a few modifications for looks and things like that. It's actually stock faster than 85% of all other stock vehicles in America. So there's not a whole lot of cars that are not modified that are going to take a bone stock Subaru WRX. So that's actually really cool. This is, for the price, you get a whole lot of car. A ton of safety, great reliability, great capability when it comes to bad weather, and outstanding performance. I can't say enough good things about the brand. However, I do have to raise a couple of complaints, if I'm going to be honest. And here's number one. My first and most major complaint is that Subaru paint is pretty weak, guys. It just is. I've driven a lot of vehicles throughout my life. I've owned about a dozen, maybe just under, somewhere between 10 and 12 vehicles. And I'll use my Jeep Wrangler as an example. I took that thing. It was modified, had the snorkel on it, lift, big tires, a few other things that I'm not going to go down the whole list of it. However, even though I ran that thing underwater, through mud, through rocks and debris and sticks and branches and through brush and everything else, that vehicle actually had less paint damage being a 2007 JK than this does being 1 year old and never being driven on a gravel road even once, or off-road for that matter. This has always been on paved roads, and it's got more than double the paint nicks on it that the Jeeper. Well, my 81 Camaro was a little worse, but that's an 81. So that's really the only vehicle. The 30-year-old car is the only vehicle that's almost 40-year-old car was the only vehicle that had more paint damage than this one. So there is a solution for it. They'll probably offer it to you at the dealership, whether you lease or buy. They'll offer you something called a clear bra. I highly recommend, even though it might cost a little bit of money up front, trust me, it's worth it to prevent the hassle and the heartache of seeing your new baby get a little paint chip in it. Trust me, that's a horrible experience. It's almost a relief once the first one happens, because you're always kind of in that like new cell phone state where you're scared to like chuck it or toss it or just lay it down firmly or anything because you're scared you're gonna break it. Same's true for a new car, only tenfold more extreme. So definitely want to be careful with that. Excuse my vape breaks here. I'm actually on break at work, and I want my vape. So we have the paint is my main qualm. You have a solution for it. It's a very practical offering that they have. Don't look at your salesman and think they're trying to make a whole bunch of money off of you in that instance. They're really not. They're trying to save you some headaches and some hassle by offering you a preventative measure. Especially if you're leasing, I would recommend this, because although I've heard that most Subaru dealerships are very understanding and are willing to work with people when they bring back a car that's got a leased car that's got a little bit of nicks and scratches and dings and dents or whatever, there is a limit to how far they're going to bend over backwards, and it's always best to protect yourself. Spending a few $100s to have the front end clear broad is fantastic. It blends right in, especially if the person doing it has done a few of them before. So I would recommend, if you do buy a Subaru, to go to a dealership that moves a lot of them. Everybody's that could be watching this video, whether you're local to me, well, if you're local to me, you already know the situation, but regardless of whether you are or aren't, there's always dealerships that are competing with each other. Go to the one that's more renowned for being the more popular one, the more units sold. Chances are they're going to have more access and more availability for parts. They're going to be able to get those things quicker for you. They're going to have more, it's just going to be better service, better experience, better things like that. So you always want to go with people who specialize and are in the upper echelon of what they do, if you can. The next complaint I have, which is the second one down, would actually be that these cars come with composite rims. I do not like that. Composite rims are dangerous, especially these come with summer tires. If you're getting this for winter driving as well, you're gonna have to get another set of tires. I wish the dealership offered me an option to switch it up, but they only offered me an option to buy a complete other set of tires. I would have personally, if the option was presented to me to say $20 to $50 per tire to install all-weather tires of very good quality, I would have gladly given up the summers that were on it and had them put in all-weathers and paid $20 to $50 per tire to do that. That would have been a very easy sale for me. I didn't want to buy a whole other set of rubber, and especially when I didn't realize that that was what I was going to need. But my complaint is actually the composite rims. Let me get back on point here. I didn't buy another set of wheels. I keep the composites, but I have to switch from winter to summer tires. When they're using their pry bar, or the little leverage bar to help fit the rubber on and off of the wheel, if one of those people has greasy hands, sweaty hands, just a weak grip, whatever the case may be, and it lets go on accident, and that thing comes slamming back onto the wheel, it will chip, crack, or shatter composite wheels. That's a big mistake on Subaru's part, I feel. I know a lot of manufacturers do it. I know it's an inexpensive add-on, but look, not everybody's going to go out and spend $1,000 on a new set of wheels. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to spend $250 to lighten up my vehicle's wheels by a few pounds each. I'm just not going to do it. And the looks of these are pretty decent, in my opinion. The stock ones are pretty decent. I'd be happy with these looks if they were steel or aluminum or whatever other material is more prevalent for car rims that are fairly light. That would be my preference. I'm not a big fan of the composites. After that, I really don't have any major complaints. Those are my two only major complaints. After a year of driving it, I have no complaints about the reliability, no complaints about the brand. In fact, the brand is probably the best brand that I've ever worked with. I've done Chevy, I've done Jeep, I've done Saturns, I've done Nissan, I've done pretty much everything except for Ford, actually. Ford is one of the big ones that I haven't really touched yet in my life, I don't think. No. And what I can honestly say is the brand is one of the few brands that really cares about the community. They give back in epic fashion. They have ambassadors, what they call a Subaru Ambassador program, which is basically, if you're going to buy one of these or lease one of these, any make or model, or excuse me, any model of Subaru, it doesn't matter. Go onto a local Facebook club or something, just Subaru Club so type it in there, find a local club, and I guarantee you somebody in there is an ambassador. They can give you some free stuff, and they can give you a discount off of your purchase. It'll really help you out. One of the great things that Subaru does is care and give back. And I myself got badges for my car, which you can get when you buy a Subaru. This is my first, second, third Subaru, and you can get little icons to represent like who you are as a person. Are you racing the thing? Are you a family guy? Are you a student? Are you a military person? Are you an animal person? They have all different kinds of things like that. They also sent me a nice jacket and a nice like travel mug, which I really like. I'm a big fan of the brand. If I had to raise any more complaints, I would just be grasping at straws. Like, for instance, and this is really the last thing I could think of, the skirting on the side underneath the doors goes out a little bit. Now, I love the look of it. I wouldn't change it for the world, but sometimes when I kick my foot out there, my heel will catch. Like, actually, it just did right now. I didn't even mean for it to. I haven't damaged anything. I've nicked it a couple of times pretty good with my foot. Occasionally, I'll get a little rubber smudge, but that's it. Like I said, I'm grasping. The only two complaints that I really have for this vehicle are the paint and the composite wheels. Other than that, no complaints. Realistically speaking. And I love the vehicle every bit as much as I did on day one. Aside from that, I don't have a whole lot to give you guys. I'm going to be putting up more driving videos. I just changed jobs so I could have weekends and evenings off. Fantastic, actually. I'll actually be able to do stuff with my life. This whole summer I've been working every single weekend like a slave to this company I've been working for. It was just an awful experience. Sucked up all of my life. I had no time for friends, no time for family, no time for myself, and I'm no longer there, and I feel great. So now I'm going to have time to spend with making these videos and family and going out and having a good time with other Subaru drivers and things like that, guys in my club. So look for those videos. They're going to be coming, especially once the white stuff starts flying. That's really when I get excited with this thing, especially. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below. I'll answer them as fast as I can. If there's anything you want to see about the vehicle, what I've done with it aesthetically, or you have any questions that you can't seem to find an answer for, I'll try to answer them for you. Click like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.